Why do you have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Great job. Ask the Houthis how he's doing. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think they've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news.
Well, that was President Trump doubling down on his support for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth 24 hours ago, denying a New York Times report about sharing sensitive information on another Signal chat called Team Huddle. Here to set the record straight himself, the current Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth, former host right here on Fox and Friends. Pete,
hey,
great
Brian.
To see you, Mr. Secretary.
Great to see you.
So your thoughts on what's been reporting of Team Huddle and the Signal chat that the New York Times says took place between you, your wife, and your brother, and some others.
So, Brian, if you remember when this all started, the first go-around, because this is the second go-around, right? They peddle old stuff, they kick it back up. I said repeatedly, no one's texting war plans. You know why I said that? Because I'm in the bowels of the Pentagon every single day. Just 10 minutes ago, I was looking at actual war plans of things that were ongoing or pending things to happen, because that's on a regular basis on classified systems. That's my job for the war fighters, for the President of the United States. I look at war plans every single day. What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda. Now, here at the Defense Department, because, Brian, I want this to be very clear. We take the classification of information very important. It's very significant to us that we safeguard it. And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here at the Defense Department. Through that investigation, they have been moved on, and that investigation continues. As a result of that, everything we do here is above board, trying to make sure that we safeguard information. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate. It's not what I do. It's not how we operate. And so you've got another allegation being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here. We're for the warfighters. We're for the president. And none of this is based in reality.
So, Mr. Secretary, I guess I can conclude this. We know some bizarre situation with Michael Waltz happened with the first time the whole thing with the Signal app came out. You believe this came out, they said it was called Team Huddle, because one of the people who work for you, one of the three who no longer are there, leaked this out as a way to get back at you?
That's right, Brian. When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again, the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence produced, it will go to DOJ, why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker, often a leaker. And so we looked for leakers because we take it very seriously. And we will do the investigation. Right. And if those people are exonerated, fantastic. We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of those individuals because of what was found in the investigation. So if they want to keep leaking and pushing and peddling things that try to sabotage the president's agenda, that's unfortunate. But that's how leaking works in this town. We're focused on recruiting, on rooting out DEI, on securing our southwest border, on the president's agenda, and it's going very well at the Pentagon, and I'm proud of it.
Right. So the Signal app is what everyone uses. We're all finding that out now because of the Chinese have infected and sabotaged, gotten involved in almost every other communications apparatus over the last 4 years. So that's where you're communicating. You say it took place, but there was no classified material in it. Over the last few days, your senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, Colin Carroll, who was your chief of staff, Deputy Secretary of Defense. The other one, Darren, is now former Deputy Chief of Staff, were let go. Did you let them go?
Brian, it was a result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking. And then I have a statutory responsibility, Brian. If I believe that's the case, to ultimately ensure they no longer have access to that and that the investigation commences. There are a lot of ways to communicate in this building. I do it every day. I was just doing it this morning. Official channels by which we communicate classified information. If you want to do it and do it the right way, you should. If we think you are leaking to the press, that's a very real problem. We take that very seriously at the Pentagon. I'm here to do one job. One job for the president and the American people. Secure the country. America first, peace through strength. I don't have time for leakers. I don't have time for the hoax press that peddles old stories from disgruntled employees. We should be talking about the decimation of the Houthis, how we're pushing back the Chinese, how we have a new defense area at the southern border. Instead, disgruntled former employees are peddling things to try to save their ass.
Did you?
And ultimately, that's it's not going to work.
Mr. Secretary, did you find this out, or did they come to you? Because I know you know these guys. Like these are the guys you picked, especially Caldwell. And they worked for you for your previous job before you got over to Fox. And they said that they have not been asked to their phones. They weren't asked about communications. They didn't go through, they didn't take a polygraph. So why would they be let go and not be investigated?
Well, Brian, when there were a series of serious leaks at the Pentagon, which there were, Panama Canal plans, Elon Musk's visit, you name it, any number of things, and there's 4, 5, 6, 7 things. We said enough is enough. We're gonna launch a leak investigation, which we did, which was then handed over to OSI, which is the special investigators here at DOD. Right. Through that investigation, information was surfaced, which created a responsibility to take action. That's how it works when you you actually investigate leaks, Brian. So it's easy to say, oh, we asked everybody and everybody said they're good. Or you can take it seriously and say, we don't think leaks are okay at this department, so we're going to investigate. And when we investigate, we'll take it anywhere it leads. And unfortunately, Brian, to your point, and again, if 1 or 2 of these guys is exonerated after an investigation, great. That's what investigations are for. But we took it seriously. It led to some unfortunate places, people I have known for quite some time, but it's not my job to protect them. It's my job to protect national security, the President of the United States, and let the investigation go where it is. So when that evidence is gathered sufficiently, and this has all happened very quickly, it will be handed over to DOJ, and those people will be prosecuted if necessary. The leakers know who they are, and we know over time the truth will be told, and we stand firm behind that. Leaking is not okay in national security policy, and we will stand behind that every day of the week.
It looks like Carol and Selnick intend to sue for wrongful termination. And again, they didn't ask to take a polygraph test. Do you know Joe Casper? Is he still your chief of staff? Is he leaving?
Oh, Joe's a great guy. He's a great American. He has done a fantastic job for us at the Defense Department, securing the southwest border, getting a beachhead here at the Pentagon. He's staying with us, going to be in a slightly different role, but he's not going anywhere, certainly not fired. You make changes over time. And we're grateful for everything Joe's done. So,
as you know, one of the people that left, he says he was not fired, he let go. Other people said he was fired. John Hewlett, a former Pentagon spokesperson, decided to put this in Politico and say, here's a quote, "It's been a month of total chaos at the Pentagon, from leaks of sensitive operational plans to mass firings. The dysfunctional, now a major distraction for the president, deserves better from his senior leadership. President Donald Trump has a strong record on holding his top officials to account. Given that, it's hard to see Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth remaining in his role for much longer." You know him. I know he was let go. He had a great idea to get rid of Jackie Robinson, being sarcastic, from the Pentagon. Your thoughts about that statement? Anybody that knows John knows why we let him go. We did a lot of favors for John. He did some good work up front. Then he was moved along and asked to move along. Now he's misrepresented a lot of things in the press. It's unfortunate. We did right by him. We tried to help. He's spinning it otherwise. It's too bad. It's politics, I guess. Mr. Secretary, do you think you take this job, you come in with war experience and all your great background, do you think there's a lot of people who don't want you there, and there's some type of deep state forces that want to make sure you don't stay there? They've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump. I mean, I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump got in that first term. What he's endured is superhuman. It's not hard for me to do this job. I know exactly why I'm here, to bring warfighting and the warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down.
to bring in new press voices into the Pentagon, which we've done, to reestablish standards and accountability, to not tolerate leakers, to 100% operational control of our border, to get rid of trans lunacy in the military. We haven't backed down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along. And, start doing Meet the Press and going to the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the new cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because President Trump asked me to bring warfighting back to the Pentagon every single day.
Right.
That is our focus. And if people don't like it, they can come after me. No worries. I'm standing right here. The warfighters are behind us. Our enemies know they're on notice. Our allies know we're behind them. And that, in this dangerous world, for the American people is what it's all about.
I've been on 2 bases over the last 2 months. They're overwhelmingly, anecdotally support for you. And they talked about recruiting going up. So I asked for official numbers. They are through the roof. Take a look at these numbers with the Army, Air Force, and Marines. You are up 108% in November, 119% in February, 108% after the election, 105% with the Navy. With the Marines, up 112% and 100%. They are through the roof. The U.S. Air Force, 100% of its goal. Same thing in February. And Space Force is also booming, over 100%. I think the warfighters are happy to have a warfighter up top. Mr. Secretary, with all this controversy, everything swirling around, have you ever doubted your decision to take this job?
Oh, not for a minute. I didn't hesitate when the president asked me, and I haven't hesitated for a moment, because those numbers are a reflection of why we're here. We call it the Trump bump internally. The reality is when war fighting and lethality is brought back and it's serious, that what we're doing here is serious about getting after soldiering and war fighting, American people want to come back in. They want to sign up. These recruiting numbers don't surprise me. They don't surprise me one bit. They're a reflection of a yearning from the American public, of young people, to be proud of their country, to be proud of their military, to make sure when they serve, they're given everything they need. That's why I've fought for the budget that the Defense Department requires. And the president has said we'll have our first $1 trillion budget, because my kids, my 14-year-old, if he joins, he's going to have a great military. He's going to have peace through strength because of the historic investments of this president. So, no, I haven't blinked, and I won't blink because this job is too big and too important for the American people, and I'm grateful for every opportunity the president has given me.
And I was grateful to see the Hegseth Army on the Easter egg roll yesterday in the backdrop. They are ready to go. Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for your time today, and best of luck. The world is not an easy place to control, and you're trying to do it. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.